I'm excited to be here and share some tips for people, a little bit about how they can overcome challenges in their business. And really the same things that help people overcome challenges in their business are the same things that help them overcome challenges in other parts of their life. So I really hope that this information is helpful. I love this quote from Ariana Huffington. She says, "We need to accept that we won't always make the right decisions, that we'll screw up royally sometimes, understanding that failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of success." And Indra Nooyi says, "If you want to improve the organization, you have to improve yourself, and the organization gets pulled up with you." So I think those are the two key points I want to talk about today. One of the things that keeps people from being able to overcome challenges is not having a strong enough resilience muscle. And most people don't really understand where resilience comes from. I know that I didn't until I had to go through it to really go, oh, now I understand. Because I wasn't always resilient. My health crisis that you talked about helped make me resilient because it really took a certain level of determination. When I was sick all those years ago, 35 years ago, the doctors basically told me they couldn't help me, and they sent me home to bed with some antidepressants and said, just go home and sleep it off. And then, we don't really know what to do for you. And up until that time, I just thought that, my doctors and my parents actually knew how to fix everything. And that was sort of my, aha moment in life. And I remember taking that one antidepressant and collapsing on the toilet and realizing this is not the path for me, and I will never do this again. And I threw away those medications, and I have not taken a prescription or over-the-counter medication over 35 years. How did I do that? It's the same tools that I used to overcome that helped me with my business, actually. And part of that really comes from, we lose energy when we have emotions and traumas and different events in our life that we don't realize we make a decision inside of ourselves. And as a result of those emotions, one emotion that has not been healed, we may not realize something's a traumatic event until maybe years later. So it may not register. But anyway, one emotion can create as many as 12,000 thoughts. And those thoughts keep the mind busy, but more importantly, what they do is they draw energy from us so that we cannot have the energy and the resources that we need in order to do what we need to do. So the premise of the work that I do with people now is heal the baggage. Once you heal the emotional baggage that's in there, there's less resistance, there becomes more resilience, and the mind gets quieter, and we are more open to options and resources that we weren't aware of before. When we're able to do that, we start to see possibilities instead of dead ends. And when we talk about overcoming challenges, it's really about developing new strategies for overcoming what we see maybe in the past as a dead end. So looking for being more open to other options, being more open to other people who might offer solutions for us. But more importantly, as we heal those emotions, reprogramming ourselves to recognize that we can have a different belief system, that it is possible that what we thought was the truth is not the truth. So I really love to help people see that the perception that they have about themselves, about others around them, and a particular event usually isn't right on, even though there's a lot of emotional projection that goes on around us where, and that's a result of how we were raised. I don't know about you. I had pretty great parents that did their best, but they had a limited way of thinking that caused them to go to only certain solutions when things happened. For example, when they got sick, they would always go to a doctor. They weren't really hot on medications, but they took them. And I think that describes 99% of the population, and what I like to do is teach you that those emotions are what's causing you to feel sick or feel physically challenged. And I know we all have physical incidents that happen to us as well. There's actual physical damage. But again, the body has a lot of resources, and we have the ability to heal almost anything as a result of clearing that emotional baggage that's in there. The problem is emotions have a bad rap in our society. And we're given 26 emotions, estimated. that most people have. Most people only work with one or two or three of their emotions most of the time. They recognize the big ones like anger, fear, sadness, but not the subtle things that are happening in between. And those subtle layers are actually, there's a reason we have emotions. And most people never question that. Like, why do I have emotions? Why do I have 26 of them? What's the point of that? And the emotions are an opportunity to inform us. Think of them as data rather than having any like good or bad. Emotions are neither good nor bad. They're just data. They're information coming at us from the universe to help us make better decisions. And if we are not putting our emotional baggage, our emotional lens in the way, and we can actually see what's coming at us, like you can experience the emotion and the message that it has to bring to you without derailing yourself, right? So allowing yourself to acknowledge the emotion, but not necessarily be swallowed by it. And a lot of times there's a sort of a melodramatic part of us that God instilled as a child, where it's like, oh, it's going to be like this forever. This challenge is going to be here forever. I'm sick. It's going to be here forever, unless I do this. Well, another thing that people should know is whenever we feel like we've got no choices, that's a sign that your ego is working overtime. So choices come if you feel a sense of urgency that you have to do something, a lot of times that means that the ego is involved. It means that you've got an emotional lens in the way of making your choices. When you recognize that you have all the time in the world to get everything done, and that those ideas of limitation, time limits, limits of ability, those are just, they're perceptions that can be changed, that can be altered. And that happens again when we heal the emotion that's creating the thought. So think of a challenge as a call to action of some sort. And it's also an opportunity to be willing to call in the truth. So one thing you can do, and I'm not the person who created this, but there's many scholars out there who say, look, just ask yourself, is this true? Is this situation true? And then after you ask yourself that, ask yourself if it's really true. And then ask that question again. Because a lot of times the things that we believe to be true are not actually true. There's only so many choices. Oh, there's only one left of this. If I don't get this one thing, my life is never going to be good. So we tend to over dramatize these events in our lives, because that comes from a place of scarcity. And that's something that we learned growing up as children. And maybe our parents didn't intend to implant that thought in our heads, but I know when I was growing up, my family a lot of times used the language of we can't afford that, right? So and my thought as a child was, okay, we're poor. That's how I translated that, right? As I matured in my life and I look back, I go, gosh, we actually had we're not poor, we were by no stretch of the imagination. And I think that it's just about relearning our languaging that's going on inside of our heads. Now I look back at those times and I think, well, if they could have just said, we're choosing not to spend money in that direction because we have this other priority, that would have been a great way to talk to me as a child. And so again, these are going back to those limiting beliefs that we have in us as growing up as adults. We may not even recognize that we're holding on to these things and that they're controlling everything that we're doing. So what I love for people to do is, as you start to question those things that you believe to be true, and as you heal those emotions that are in there, you start to pay attention to them, give them actually, that's all they want, is for you to give them attention and to be with them. And that is a way of healing it. As you heal that, you start to you start to see that you have more energy. Your energy is not being wasted by going into this, emotional spiral that's not helping you move forward. So I like to help people see that. And as they start to be present to those emotions, their energy starts to go up, and they're not just their resilience, but their ability to fight off physical issues as well. So fevers, pains. I had one client who, she was a very accomplished woman, but she was not very confident. And when she came to me, she was looking to figure out which direction she wanted to go in her work. It was either be a nurse or a teacher. She could have done either one. And so we worked together to heal that confusion. And as she healed the confusion, the clarity came in and her energy started to go up. And she actually pulled in a perfect job for her as a teacher and got very, very well paid. But what was interesting during that process was she had migraine headaches, and that was part of that emotional resistance that she had going on. So we were able to heal the emotions that were causing the migraine headaches. She'd had them for years. And as a result of that, she never had a headache. She's not had any headaches since. And she's going forward with more resilience, more energy, and she's not creating anything a lot of times we create these physical symptoms to keep us from doing things that we really want to do. But there's fear in there. And if you think about everything that we don't do, that we justify we shouldn't do, whatever, most of it comes down to we're afraid. We're afraid of treading new water, going into a new area in our life, trying different resources out. And so as we start to heal the fear, again, going back to what I said earlier, people start to become more open and more receptive to what's out there. So for people who want to learn more about what I have available, or maybe you can go to my website, carlacohen.com. I'm going to put that in the chat for people. There's a Pain to Purpose special for anybody today who would like to learn about, would like to heal some emotions and move forward with clarity and resilience and overcome those challenges easier. And thank you so much for having me.